You know that feeling, right? A name is right on the tip of your tongue, or you've spent like 10 minutes looking for your keys. We've all been there. But what if all that forgetfulness isn't just something we have to accept? Well, today, we're going to break down 6 really powerful, science backed strategies to protect and even improve your memory. Let's dive in.
This quote, it really just hits you, doesn't it? Our memory isn't just a filing cabinet for facts. It's the story of who we are. It's our guide, our internal compass. Like psychiatrist Dr. Kailas Roberts says, without memory, we're basically navigating life without a rudder. And that's exactly why protecting it is one of the most important things we can possibly do.
So, how does this incredible system in our brain actually work? I mean, it's pretty wild when you think about it. Before we jump into the how-to, a really quick peek under the hood is going to show us exactly why these strategies are so incredibly effective.
Okay, just try to wrap your head around the scale of this for a second. Our memories live in these tiny connections, these synapses, and we have hundreds of trillions of them. It's mind-boggling. Our brain's storage capacity is just immense. So the problem isn't a lack of space. It's all about having a good system for filing those memories away in the first place. Think of your brain's memory like a really busy office, right? New info comes in and lands on a temporary sticky note. That's your short-term cache. It's useful for a minute, but it gets lost or thrown out so easily. The real goal, the whole game, is to get that information into the permanent filing cabinet, the long-term archive. Mastering that transfer is everything.
And the star player in that whole transfer process is a part of your brain called the hippocampus. You can think of it as the brain's head librarian. It's the one that decides, is this information important enough to be cataloged and stored forever? A lot of the techniques we're about to talk about are basically just clever ways to give that librarian the right signals. All right, now that we know the basics of how the machinery works, let's head into what I like to call the mental gymnasium. This first set of strategies are direct workouts you can do to actively strengthen those memory muscles.
So here's the big question for you. When you absolutely need to remember something, what do you do? I bet for a lot of us, it's just reading it over and over again. But here's the thing. Study after study shows that's one of the least effective ways to learn. The real key is a technique called active recall. It's a game changer.
So instead of just passively reading, you actively make your brain work for it. First, you pre-test yourself, which kind of primes your brain for what's coming. Then, you study the material. Now, this next part is absolutely critical. You try to recall it from memory without looking. That struggle, that effort, is what strengthens the neural pathways. Finally, you retest after a delay. A good rule of thumb is the 30% rule. So if your final test is in 30 days, you should retest yourself around day 10. And here's the science behind why it's so powerful. As neuroscience professor Elizabeth Kensinger explains, every single time you try to retrieve a memory, you're sending a giant signal to your brain that basically screams, "Hey, this is important. Don't you dare delete this file." It's like putting a big red priority flag on that piece of information. Okay, next up, what about remembering a long list of things, like, say, the key points for a big presentation or even just your grocery list and you need them in the right order? Well, there's an ancient and incredibly powerful technique for exactly that. It's called the mind palace. What you do is you take a route you know like the back of your hand, maybe the walk from your front door to your bedroom. Then you mentally place weird, vivid images of the items you need to remember in specific spots along that route. So if the first thing on your list is milk, you might picture a giant waterfall of milk cascading down your front door. To remember the list, you just walk that route in your mind. This works because you're hacking into our brain's incredibly powerful spatial memory. I mean, think about it this way. You're anchoring these fragile, new memories to the rock-solid, stable memories of a place you know intimately. It's like tying a tiny little boat to a huge, unmovable dock. This technique is so good, they actually teach it in memory clinics to help people manage their day-to-day lives. It's that effective. Okay, so we've gone from ancient techniques to something a little more surprising. Can a good laugh actually boost your memory? You might be skeptical, but the science says, yep, absolutely. See, humor sets off this really fascinating chain reaction in your brain. The surprise of a punchline grabs your attention, which triggers arousal, and then a pleasure response that involves dopamine.
This little neurochemical cocktail basically puts a big, bright spotlight on the memory for your brain, making it way more likely to be stored permanently.
Okay, so beyond these active workouts, our dairy habits form the very foundation of our memory health. Let's think of these next ones as the high-quality fuel for your brain, the stuff that keeps the engine running strong for the long haul.
Here's a perfect modern-day example. Relying on your phone's GPS all the time, it's like using a calculator for simple addition. Sure, it's convenient, but that muscle just gets weaker and weaker. Research actually shows that constantly using sat-nav can diminish the function of your hippocampus. Just the simple act of figuring out how to get somewhere on your own is a powerful exercise for this crucial memory center. And this all leads to a really powerful concept called cognitive reserve. The best way to think about it is like a mental savings account. Every time we challenge our brains with new skills, we're making deposits into that account. We're building up a reserve that helps our brain stay resilient and functional, even when it's faced with the effects of aging or illness.
And this number right here shows just how powerful that cognitive reserve can be. A major study found that older adults who were bilingual developed dementia symptoms on average a full 4 years later than people who only spoke one language. That mental workout of juggling multiple languages provides this incredible protective effect.
Now, the really good news is that building that cognitive reserve doesn't have to feel like homework. In fact, one of the most effective and, frankly, most enjoyable ways to protect your memory is something you're probably already doing: socializing. It might just be the most natural form of brain training there is. And the research gives us a clear, actionable target. A massive study found that socializing at least twice a week was one of the absolute key lifestyle factors that protected older adults against memory decline. I mean, just think about that. It's one of the simplest and most powerful things you can do for your brain. So if there's one big takeaway from all of this science, it's this: you can be an active architect of your own memory. You have the tools and you have the ability to build and reinforce its structure day by day. So here's your toolkit all summarized. On one side, you have those active training techniques like recall practice and mind palaces. And on the other, you have the foundational habits like navigating on your own, learning new things, and just socializing that keep your brain healthy and resilient. The bottom line is this: you are not just a passive observer watching your memory decline. By using these strategies, you can take control. Forgetfulness does not have to be an inevitable part of your life. It really doesn't. In the end, your memory is this incredible collection of moments, lessons, and relationships that literally make up your life. It is the unique story of you. So the real question is, now that you have this knowledge, how are you going to write the next chapter?